back on our radio show. Steve Young, my Pro Football Hall of Fame friend, kind enough to join us right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Steve? Good to see you.
Rich, good to see you, buddy.
Okay. You know, the conversation about what the Niners are up to right now, before we get to the Debo, I want to just start right off the bat with what you think the Niners should do with Brock Purdy, Steve Young.
Well, you got a little backdrop. I think the effort to make sure that we had Super Bowl ready teams the last few years while Brock was on his rookie contract was, the owner, Jed York and John York and Denise, DeBartolo York, were all in. And I think what happened with Nick Bosa and then with Brandon Ayuk changed the nature this year of how they are going to go about it. I don't think they were really appreciative of how that went down and how they got pushed. And I think that they're going to, you almost feel like a lot more declarative statements coming out. And I think that's not going to change Brock's situation. It's just that you have to have the background. It's not the same mentality that in the last couple of years. I think there's going to be a little more rigor to it all. And that's okay. Back to Brock, your original question, Rich. Look, the game today is dominated. The prototype is the guys that are winning the Super Bowls, the guys that can throw it all over the field, run all over the field, get all the free first downs, all the touchdowns that are out there with their legs. They press. Even if they don't use their legs every play, they threaten every play. It is the NFL today. So if Brock is 80% of that, you know what I mean? Like he can threaten, he can move around, he can do all the things you do, and he can process as well as anybody. So in that way, quarterbacks are so hard to find that Brock has done enough for sure to go out and get paid and get it done. Now, back to my original point, I don't know that it's going to be smooth. How could it be smooth, right? Because there's going to be, Brock's people are going to want $60 million a year. And the 49ers, I'm just making this up, 45, whatever it is. And there's just going to be some back and forth. And, but I guess just hold on to that thought that I gave you earlier about the spirit of what ownership and what, general managers and even Kyle are thinking about and the rigor about how they're going to handle some of it. So it'll get done. But I don't know how fast it'll get done.
Right. And, obviously negotiations are frequently messy. I mean, the easy sailing is that's the infrequent one. So let's just put aside how we're going to get there. But I do believe they will get there. But so what do you say to anybody out there in Niner fandom? Certainly when you see Debo get his exit visa, and there's probably more to that than just cap concerns. But what do you say to Niner fans that'll be like, it's more of a risk to go with Purdy than it would be to keep everyone together and find a new quarterback, say, on the free agency front, Steve?
Yeah, we've seen that roulette too, right? And it's just so few guys that can command a huddle, can process. I mean, look, for some of the shortcomings, Brock is as elite as it comes in processing, which is so much of the job. And so in that elite nature and then commanding the huddle and having the respect of your teammates and can stand up at team meetings and people want to listen to him. I mean, that just doesn't show up. So in that way, that's all things to lean into and not worry about. Now, again, the game is changing. The prototypes are changing. They have changed. And I've said this all season long. The more they can threaten with Brock Purdy's physical and with his legs, every play he needs to be a threat. Doesn't need to use it all the time, but needs to threaten like Jaden Daniels, like C.J. Stroud, like Patrick Mahomes, like Josh Allen, like those are the guys that are going to win Super Bowls. And so that's why he needs to have, and he and Kyle got to come together on how he's going to play his game. But you go back to how this gets done, it gets done. Like it has to get done. There's not alternatives out there to now. I guess, Rich, you could kind of dream up scenarios where it gets crossways and they go after Sam Darnold. I mean, you could see that, but it's so far in the distance. That's something would have to go haywire for something like that to happen.
Well, what's your evaluation of Sam? If you have one, Steve, I'd be willing to take it from you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Rich. I think Sam, it proved the point that in the NFL, there are now, I mean, it's amazing to me. The Bears now have an innovative offensive mind. The Jets have an innovative offensive mind that have the Jaguars, like these teams that like been so terrible for quarterbacks for so long, like the whole league's catching on now to that it is the quarterback. And it is training and innovative mindsets that are going to get it done, and making the whole organization about making the quarterback's job easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, Sam is, found a place in Minnesota with a guy that really understands the game today, innovative mind that's calling plays and great talent around him. And I think that's Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold going back to Cleveland, it's hard to pick a team that, you feel like you can't handle going to Pittsburgh. Like, it's a whole different story. And we've seen Sam Darnold in Carolina. We've seen him at the Jets where they don't understand quarterbacks, at least back then. So look, he's completely capable of repeating what he did this last year and getting better. I guess that's the simple answer.
Well, I mean, in terms of what we saw in the last 2 weeks of the season and how poorly it went against Detroit in the finale, and then obviously against the Rams in the playoffs, there's a sense that Darnold hit a ceiling. But
he hit a ceiling his first. It was a first playoff run, and it was a magical season.
Mm-hmm.
And every game in the season, Rich, you get tested, and he kept answering those tests. So those aren't false tests. Those aren't false positives. Those are all positives. But getting in the playoffs and not hitting the moment, okay, there's not what's the ceiling? Like, you saw him during the season. If he plays like that, he can take you to Super Bowl. It's not like he can't do it, but you got to do it to prove it. And so anyone who says, well, I've seen Sam Darnold and he can't get there is wrong.
Steve Young here on the Rich Eisen Show. For me, I'm just thrilled to see Stafford and the Rams stay together. It just seemed to be the smart move, right? Like that.
And I loved how they handled it. I loved how Sean handled it. How they did it because you could see that it was, you could get really offended. You've seen teams screw this up, and they were very open about it. Matthew was open. It was how you should handle complex situations, and so smoothly. It says a lot about the management of the Rams and the coaching the Rams, and it says a lot about Matthew as a kind of a guy that's been around a long time, knows that I don't want to end up in a place that can't, thrive with, for the quarterback. I don't want to end up in a place